Thank you very much. First of all, can I welcome pupils and teachers from Grange Post-Primary School in Sligo to the Dáil today. I think they were in the gallery earlier, but I am personally, I think we have another school up there, but I'm personally delighted that they got a chance to hear this really important debate on carers and caring. Because the truth is, many of those students will, in time, have to either give care or will be the recipient of care. And that's the reality for all of us. If we're lucky enough to live long enough, we will either receive care or give care. And that's why this discussion, this debate about supporting family carers is so crucial, because for too long it was seen as women's work, something that happened inside the home. Close the front door, let them get on with it, forget about it. But thankfully, there has been a recognition, particularly over the last number of years, that care is not a women's issue, it's a societal issue. It's something that goes right to the heart of how we live and how we construct the society we live in. And that's why this government and all states need to support family carers. Secondly, can I thank the Minister, Minister Humphreys, and indeed all my colleagues who are here today who made very valuable and measured contributions to this discussion. I'm pleased that the government is not opposing the motion. And I have to say, I hope that means that it will respond to the asks in the motion. When we discuss and debate matters in this chamber, it's not just about the words we use, it's about the actions that we take following our discussions. And we mightn't agree on everything, and you might not deliver, Minister, everything that I'm looking for or other members are looking for. But what we would hope is that you and Minister Humphreys will be able to deliver for family carers and fully recognise their contribution. And our role today is to make the strongest and the best case that we can for family carers. Now again, I was listening to Minister Humphreys in her contribution, and she told us that she was determined to do more and that she would take on board the points raised in this motion. And she said that supporting carers will be a priority for her once again in Budget 2024. All of us here in this chamber and every family carer in Ireland will be pleased to hear that commitment. And we look forward to this government meeting and realising that commitment. Minister Humphreys itemised the various supports for family carers provided by her department. And there are a number, and certainly things have improved. Supports, resources have improved. By and large, there are some daring exceptions, which I'll come to in a minute, but they have improved over a number of years. And she made the point that the number of carers receiving carers allowance has nearly doubled in 13 years, from about 50,000 to almost 93,000. Now, the figures don't lie, but it is important to remember that of that 93,000 figure, that includes nearly 43,000 on the half-rate carers, which is a new feature and it's a welcome one. But half-rate carers is a newer feature, and therefore comparing those two sets of figures is not actually comparing like with like. And it's also important to remember that a number of carers included in that 92,000 figure, as I said, 43,000 on half rate, but the rest of them, that some of them are on a reduced rate of carers allowance, not the full allowance. I don't have the figures to hand, but from memory I think it's somewhere perhaps around the 10% level. Now, one of the issues that I raised with the Minister earlier, and she did give an explanation, was that the income disregard for a single carer at €350 was less than half the household or family disregard of €750. And I was surprised when I saw that. Now, the response she gave me was that the idea of increasing the disregard for a couple by slightly more was to try to help the person who gives up work but was missing out because of their partner's income. And maybe in an obtuse way, that recognises the need for individualisation of the means test for carers allowance. Now, I'll come back to individualisation in a minute, but I really want to make this point strongly. There's another fundamental issue here. Many single carers give up work also. And crucially, the cost of caring is not substantially different in a single household as it is in a household where there are a number of members and other incomes coming in. And while I know carers allowance is not meant to contribute to the cost of caring, the reality is that's precisely what it does. That's where carers allowance goes. So I would ask the Minister that she looks at this again and checks how it impacts in the real world of caring, and includes in that calculation the cost of caring as well. Now, I want to come back to this proposal about an individualised approach to the means testing of carers' payments. The Minister suggested that this might mean moving carers' allowance from her department to the Department of Health. Well, if that's necessary, that's fine. But we need to fundamentally deal with the gender bias that is inherent in the assessment of the disregard for carers' allowance and move to an individualised model. We need to listen to the Citizens' Assembly and the Oireachtas Joint Committee on Gender Equality in this regard. And we need not just to have a referendum in November, which proposes to replace Article 41(2) with wording that recognises the immense contribution and public good given by Ireland's family carers. That's critical, but we also need to put in place the supports and resources for family carers to continue to care. The referendum, good, but then we need to make good on that referendum. As well as that, Minister, my core ask is that Budget 2024, this government increases the income disregard for carers allowance to €900 per week per household, and to at least half of that, €450 per week for single carers. This will simply mean that the income disregard is just keeping pace with average weekly household incomes. Minister, I think that's a basic ask. And while I know you were not in government at the time, in the document towards 2016, which was a 10-year framework social partnership agreement from 2006 to 2015, Priority Action 5, which was entitled Caring Response, gives a commitment back in 2006 to expanding the limits, that is, the income disregard for carers allowance, so that all those on average household incomes could qualify. This actually was achieved in 2008, but we've gone backwards since then. And we are only asking that the commitment given 17 years ago would finally be delivered. The last word, Can Corla, goes to a number of family carers in the gallery today. I want to welcome them here. I want to thank them for their huge contribution, for the care they provide, and for the public good they deliver to Ireland. And I want to include in that for their love. I mentioned this earlier, and I was really pleased to hear Deputy Breed-Smith reiterate this point, because caring is about love. It's about family, it's about human decency, it's about recognising the needs of others and responding to them in a humane way. I also want to recognise representatives from Family Carers Ireland in the gallery who have been tireless advocates for family carers and who provide solid research and evidence-based proposals to support family carers.
Thank you.
Finally, Lascan, once again, I'm happy that the Minister is not opposing the motion, but I feel the government must, you told us that the government must find balance and meet competing demands. Looking at the income disregard for carers allowance, remember it's still not at the level it was in 2008. It needs to be restored, Minister.
Thank you. And that